So I was like, get that big strapping guy. We'll do this. So I come and I'm a hard worker. And after 2 days of working my guts out, he's like, you're the hardest working guy I've ever met. He goes, I'm really impressed. Let me take you to lunch. So he takes me to lunch and he starts asking questions. I said, I want to ask you some questions. I said, my dad, and I wasn't trying to be harsh or funny. It's just when you're a kid, you just don't realize. I said, my dad said you should be such a loser. Now you're so successful. Like, how'd you do that? He was taken back, obviously. So John said, what? And he goes, it's probably pretty accurate about me. I said, well, what changed you? And he said, I went to a seminar. I never even heard the word seminar before. I said, what's a seminar? He sits where a man who has become incredibly successful over decades takes all he's learned in the decades and tries to compress it into a few hours or a few days and save you all that trial and error learning. So how long is the seminar? He goes, it's 3.5 hours. I said, well, how much is it? And he said, $35. It'd be like $250 in today's dollars, right? Inflation. And I was making $40 a week. So I said, wow, that's expensive. I said, can you get me in? And he's like, yeah. But he said anything more. I said, well, will you? And he said, no. And I said, well, why not? And he said, well, because you won't value it if you don't pay for it. I said, no, I'm on my own. I've been sleeping in my car. I'm working as a janitor. I'm telling him the whole story, right? He goes, I don't hear the story. He said, if you're really committed, you'll go there. Or he said, learn on your own experience and take 10 or 20 or 30 years or maybe never figure it out. So I remember I like sweating bullets over this decision. Do I do a week's pay for this 1 3-hour thing, right? And I was like, oh my God. And then I went down there. I